Hello, good morning, happy Thursday. It's not too often that I get to hang out with you on Thursdays. Although today will be a slightly shorter stream than normal. I'll be going until around 11 my time, which is an hour and a half, instead of until 12:30 or so. But we are really gonna focus on just the exploration part, which means we get to wear our exploration hat. So, what are we exploring today? Well, I had the horrific idea of using AI LLMs to hash passwords. Now, I got this idea after I was looking through some FusionOff stuff, just sort of like playing around with it off stream, and I noticed that there was, well, the hashing algorithms section of FusionOff. And of course, they give you a bunch of hashing algorithms that you can use by default, ones that are tried and true and good. But also, I noticed that there was a bring your own hashing algorithm. And inside of it, you can write some Java code. You throw the bin into throw the jar into a very specific directory. And then it will call that, which theoretically would call the hashing algorithm that you are attempting to use. Now, I realize that if I can write arbitrary Java code, I can probably make API calls. And if I can make API calls, I can use Ollama here because Ollama runs a server. So this is Ollama, this nice little cute llama. And that's this, you have like another update? Let's go update that to the latest version. It basically allows us to run AI LMs locally on our own system here. So before stream, a few minutes ago, I told it to go ahead and install Llama 3.1. Now, I tried to install Llama 3.2, but apparently Meta decided to revert their open source release of that. So hopefully that's coming very shortly, but for right now, we don't have that. All right, so what do we get with Llama? Well, this is an 8B. Now, normally if we're used to something like ChatGPT, which I don't know if we actually know how big ChatGPT really is, but it's at least 400B. And I believe that's going to be the same with all the other ones like Claude and Gemini and Grok and Q and, what are the, I don't remember all of them. But those are all like, 400 plus B. This is 8B. It's not that good compared, but it also runs locally, which means the data is all mine. It doesn't go off to some server, get processed, and then the response comes back to me. Tekatao, hello. How are you doing today? Llama isn't available in our country. Oh, that's too bad. Now, can you run Ollama? Oh, okay. So your PC sucks, so you can't run it locally. Yeah. That is a different problem. Although there are some things that you can potentially do. Like for example, you could get a VPC and run a very small, large language model, which I believe now people are starting to call them small language models, which is, I'm not sure how I feel about that because there's like the B is for billion. That's still like large compared to like what we used to have. So, but yeah, you can run a 8B with like a quant on a fairly low level hardware. And then there's also 1Bs, 2Bs, there's less than 1Bs. You can get those and run those on even Raspberry Pis. So if you have access to a Raspberry Pi or equivalent, then you can run an LLM. Now, the less number before the B here, the less intelligent it is, which for today's experiment is going to be perfectly fine. In fact, I don't really care if it's intelligent or not. But if you want it to be as good as ChatGPT for like using that, yeah, the higher the number, the better. That's generally the idea. Haname girls, hello. How are you doing today? You have a Ryzen 5 with 16 gigabytes of RAM. Oh, I mean, you should be able to do some stuff. Let's see. Okay, so I have a Llama 3 8B FP16. So FP stands for floating point 16. So this is basically as good as you could possibly get for the 8B model. And that takes up 16 gigabytes of size. So you could run this on your, like, it would fill up all the RAM, but it would technically work. Now, if you get a quant, like an 8 quant, which is moves it from 16 bit, I think, to 8-bit. I'm starting to break down on like what all the things really mean and what that really does. But basically, it's a reordering, restructuring of the weights, and it removes some of them to make it a little bit more space efficient. So if I were to get the 8 quant, that would take significantly less space than 16 gigabytes, and you could then run that inside of your VRAM. Dr. Devlop, hello. How are you doing today? Oh, Hanami, you're not doing great. I'm sorry about that. Oh, my condolences for that. I'm sorry. Hopefully have a good day with that, and hopefully, things go well, and we can move forward. Watching me streaming always brightens your day. Well, thank you. I'm hopefully this will be one of those like fun ones. We're going for that. Toto, hello. How are you doing today? All right. So let's run this here. Now, Ollama, if you haven't heard of it, is like, think of it for Docker for large language models. It basically lets me just run a large language model locally on my own system. I have 64 gigabytes of memory in here. I am using 16 gigabytes of this, so I should be able to do something like hello and get a fairly quick response, and everything is perfectly fine. And well, that's all great. But going back to the entire premise of the title of this, we can do a model file. Similar to a Docker file that controls the model and sort of like sets it up for us. And because this is all local, as long as I have a combination of the model that I'm using and the model file and some other things we set in there, I should be able to get consistent results with it, which is going to be good. Dr. Devlop, you have a question? Absolutely, shoot. Okay, so let's go ahead and Helix a model file. And I need to go look up the model file instructions. Where did you put them? Is an example? Might be it might be in docs. Yeah, there it is. Model file. Okay, so this should feel very similar to Docker here. We're gonna have a from parameter. And so we can say something like, they've already updated this for Llama 3.2, which is kind of funny because Llama 3.2 doesn't exist yet. It got pulled, but they were on top of it. So we're going to do a from, and then I need this so it doesn't try to download anything anymore. You're struggling with the basics of computer architecture. So what should you do? What about computer architecture are you struggling with? Because there's a lot of different things about it. There's there are the hardware of architecture, there's some software stuff. Try to break things down into smaller pieces and then tackle those and understanding those one at a time, especially with experiments or something, could really help out. And if it's hardware you're struggling with, building a computer from scratch, or at least looking through the process of doing that, can be very helpful. You saw the problem you had with tests. You learned how to use smart pointers. Excellent. That's great. Okay, so we have our from here, and then we can set some parameters, and there's a bunch of parameters that we can set here. There's a list down here. Now, I was talking to a data scientist who told me that there's a lot of these. He has some questions about how much they actually make changes. The big things are temperature. So how stable do you want your AI to be? 0 means that it's as stable as possible and it won't try to invent anything new. And then 1 or higher, because you can go above 1.0, will be like potentially going towards just lunacy. For creative writing, maybe you want it to be higher. For coding, maybe you want it to be a little bit lower. It's like basically unknown what you want. And the other one that's really important for us potentially is num context, which is what is the size of the context that we, that this can handle. And the default that we have is 2048, but I believe that if I just run, I can do a show info and we can see that let's see. Don't think that that's the num context. I don't think this has a context set for it. Oh, here it is. Context length right here. 131,072 tokens. And a token is interesting because a token is kind of a word, but sometimes a little bit less of a word. So yeah, it gets a little bit odd. So it's not really like 131,000 words, but significantly less than that, but more than like 131,000 characters. So fun things. I don't see a reason to change any of these, but if I reduce the context length, I reduce the memory usage of this. So I can get pretty fast responses out of this right now. I'm not streaming on the computer I'm doing this on, so I don't really have any concerns about this. So I'm going to leave context alone, and temperature. It looks like it's not updated, and I believe the default temperature is 0.7. And I think that's going to be fine, but if we can make changes to this if we really want to. But the important thing here is seed. Sets the random number seed to use for generation. Setting this to a specific number will make the model generate the same text for the same prompt, with 0 being just choose something, like it's always random every single time. And that's important for us. So we're going to go seed, and right now I'm just going to make this a random string like that. Software things like OS, Dr. Devlop. Okay. Yeah, architecture for software can be a little bit difficult. It's something that I can't really necessarily go over right now because there is a lot to it. I think that's something that maybe we can discuss like on our Discord if you want to join in. Let me grab a link to that. Otherwise, like just sort of like finding people and chatting with them, looking through things. There's plenty of things to read out there, but I don't have the list right now. It's not a slash command. It is a bang command. And I copy you. Was that it? That was not it. Oh, seed must be an integer? Okay. There you go. That's better. So that's Discord. Like if you want to join and we can chat about architecture on there. There are a lot of things to it, so we'll probably even ask you to break it down even more, like what about software architecture, things like that. All right, but you're right. It does say here seed does need to be in it. you're right. Okay, so this won't work. So, but I can write. That's keyboard cat. That's probably, I wonder if that's too big. We'll find out, right? In fact, you know what? Let's just make this simple. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you're following along, there's our seed. Now the rest of this is, num predict could be interesting. The default is 128 tokens that it wants to create, which could be like close to 100 words or so, which I think is going to be fine. I have noticed, however, that this num predict just sometimes doesn't get, like, the AI just doesn't care. And it's just like, I'm going to respond with significantly less. And then sometimes it's like, I'm just going to go on forever and never stop and just keep on like filling up our context with just repeating over the same thing over and over and over again. So I have my questions on whether or not numPredict actually does anything. Okay, so if I do parameter, okay, so what else do we want to do? Template. Especially for the Llama 3.1, I trust that Ollama's template system that they already have by default is probably correct. So I'm not going to worry about that. System prompt. I don't believe that this one even has a system prompt set up for it. Can I do... No system message has been specified for this model. So a system prompt, I could do, so if I say hello, we get that. And if I do a set system, I could say something like, you are a cat. And as a cat, you can only meow. So if I do that now, I can say hello. And now it just meows. I've just created Cat GPT. It will only meow for me. Now, I can probably try to do a prompt like injection and tack and like maybe try to change that, but let's it should be fine. So let's go ahead, at least for these usages, because I'm not going to connect this up to chat where you all can throw things into it, because that's where we really run into dangers when you get sort of like random people throwing things in, which is one of the reasons why I hesitate to recommend anybody put a front-facing AI system that responds to people in like on the internet. Does this AI work on any or green video card? Oh, this AI will work on CPU and or GPU, and I believe that Ollama can actually, at least on Mac and Linux, work across video card and CPU, so like work on both, hybrid. I don't know on Windows. They have an Ollama for Windows, but it's very beta right now, so I'm not exactly sure where that's standing. Let's see. Okay. So let's do a system. I can do a multiple line system prompt here, and then just sort of like throw in what I want to be here. System wise, you are a hashing algorithm. There's a bunch of different sort of like prompting techniques that I've read and sort of like seen videos about, and there's like so many different theories about like what a good both system prompt is, what a good prompt is, like how to get what you really want out of it. Sometimes telling it why you want to do something is really helpful. So like you are this, so giving it a personality, which, I mean, it's not that much of a personality, but it's a persona, I guess. You are a hashing algorithm. You will take inputs and turn them into random strings of characters. Turn into random strings of characters that is at least maybe like 255. Maybe like 255 characters long. You do this so that the inputs can be securely stored as hashes. Okay. Let's see if that works. You tried both Mac and Windows Ollama a while back, and Windows had a lot of issues for you. I would believe that because it's still pretty new for Windows. But I recently I did try downloading it on the Windows system that I have, and it was so much slower than a Mac here. So, I mean, that's partially also because I don't have a really great video card, especially for AI. So I had to use mostly CPU with that, and that's obviously going to slow it down. Okay. Anything else? I don't have any QLoRa adapters. I'm not going to put in a license. I'm not going to set a message history. This is like a message history to like set things up for like how things are going to go. And I think that's going to be it. Now, I could potentially give it into system prompt an example, but I want to try this first. So if I save view and quit out of view, and we're going to do this is behind me. Let's flip these around. All right. So should I flip those around, or you know what I should do? Wish I could do like my character size is just wrong enough for that. I should do that and then update you to be exactly that size. You should probably specify a hold on. I won't Twitch. Why don't you let me scroll the right amount? Okay, so you should probably specify a salting word for it so it doesn't just hash it with no hard-coded thing. If you provide the same input, we always get the same response. That's the idea. That's what it claims. So we're going to find out. So given this model file, and then I've been thinking about this for like the salting thing, because I have this idea that the salt might be a combination of the seed, the system prompt, and the model that I'm using all together. Because if you think about like what the salt does, is it just makes it take longer to provide a response to hash the password if you're using something proper, like a real hashing algorithm. And then that's going to like, it takes longer, right? So if someone gets your hashed passwords and tries a rainbow attack on them, it's going to take them how many thousands of minutes or cycles in order to like guess the password, to go through the entire hash table for your hash. Okay, so I can do fun things like I can say Ollama create. It's not build. llama create, and then it's the name of the model file. So we'll call this hasher. And then the model file is model file. Okay, success. If I now do llama ls, we now see I have hasher latest. So I can now do llama run hasher. And then instead of just going into it for interactive purposes, I can also just give it input. So I could just say hello as my, well, let's do everybody's favorite password. Oh, fun AIs you have, friggin'. So we're running into one of the problems that a lot of AIs end up having, which is it's been told by whoever created the AI that it can't do certain things. It's basically censored in a way. And there are uncensored models, but I wouldn't dare ever use an uncensored model live on stream, even though it would then do this without doing it. So I have to trick it by not telling it that it's a hashing algorithm. Let's change this up by saying something like, you are 1,000 monkeys banging on keyboards, creating random characters. Isn't there a way to uncensor them completely? Yeah, so there's the idea of you can uncensor a censored model, or you could just never have censored the model to begin with. So if you have a like, okay, so llama 70B is uncensored, meaning that if I were to do this, it would probably just give me the result back just fine. It would also do other things that are not necessarily great to put on stream. And it's hard to predict what the AI is gonna put out. But it 8 is heavily censored. And you can uncensor them by taking the fine tuning to remove the censor essentially, or trying to retune it again. But it's every time you do that, you sort of reduce the capabilities of the model and it gets dumber over time. So it's not great. Censored model is no fun. Uncensored is real fun. Yeah. I've been playing with both censored and uncensored models, and yeah, they're, it depends upon what you're trying to do, because sometimes the censored models are great for what you need and you're not going to run into the censorship, but sometimes you can tell that it's just not as capable anymore. Okay, you can tell to encode it with specifying a specific method like A to Z. Well, yeah, and so but that's where I don't want to tell it to encode it with a special way, because then I've just told it how to hash it. I want it to make it actually feel more random. So let's try this. You are 1,000 monkeys banging on keyboards, creating random characters. Given the input, write at least 255 random characters. Let's just try that. So if I save you, let's recreate you, and let's run hasher password. And there we go. We've got our hash. I do find it interesting that once it started with the exclamation point, it then just stuck on side of here. So we could try to tell it, make sure to limit, Do I want to limit? Make sure to limit the number. Actually, I don't really care. Maybe I don't care. And then maybe also, I don't need this to be a 255. Like, what if I do something like 1024? And so we say, okay, hash the password. Are those new lines it's putting in? It's adding new lines in, but that's fun. Also, this isn't given up, which is a problem. This one I haven't figured out an adequate way of like, okay, how would I limit this? Now, if I was hitting this with an API, that could be good. I think I like the 255 more. All right, password. And so if I run this every single time, it should be different. Sorry, should be different? No, I got the Sexfly is that. It's going to be exactly the same. So given the same input, now if I get it off by 1, so if I do password with like a capital D, it's a very different output. I love how it added this in to show that it's stopping, which this is now forever in the hash essentially, which is perfectly fine. So one of the things that I think is absolutely hilarious about this is that on the surface, this is not the worst hashing like ever, but it also isn't good. But it's like, it's enough that I probably could convince somebody who isn't a security researcher that maybe this would be a valid use of well, security. Okay, so if I do that again, you're gonna do the exact same thing. Yeah, okay. And we replace you with like an @ sign. All right, perfect. So we have this. This is working now. So we have our hasher system or hasher model or model file for that. So perfect. Now Ollama comes with a is it API that I want? I should be able to, yeah, I can do a post and generate a completion and get back what I want to get out. And right, so this is the default that it's on. Okay, so I want curl HTTP, so localhost 11434. So that's the port that Ollama is running on. I haven't changed the default one. API generate, and then, okay, so let's try this. Move you over to the side. So we can do curl HTTP localhost 11434 API generate. And I believe there's more than just generate that we can use. Okay, and then we can give it Is this a JSON file or is it? Yeah, it's a JSON file. So the name of the model that I want to use is Hasher, right? Is that what I? Yeah, it's Hasher. Okay, so give me Hasher here. Prompt. Prompt is going to be, we'll just say password again. And now I can have it stream its response back or not. But I can set, okay, the response will be received in one reply when the streaming is off. So I can then say stream false, like that. Okay. So if I hit you, here is my response. And it ends right. It looks like it. Okay, we got some web safe stuff in here, which is fine. That sort of makes sense. That's all great. If I were to open up Insomnia, we should be able to, let's create a new request. I should be able to see what it actually sent out properly. Okay, so go to generate. I do need a body, so it needs to be a post. Make it JSON. And we'll throw in this. Whoa. We'll throw in this. Come on, look nice. Okay. So if I hit send, there's our response. Okay, so it does. Okay, because there's quotes in the response, it did cancel. It did. Why did my brain suddenly forget how, like, what the word is for that? What is the word? It's like make it so it can be inside of there. What am I thinking? I don't know why my brain suddenly like stopped thinking about like what can't think of like what that is. It's cancel. It's not encode, not run away, but also hello Asitsu. Escape. Okay, yeah. So they are escaping the quotes. And it looks like they are, from what we saw in curl, they are making it URL encoded in the response, which is perfectly fine, but something we probably need to be aware of. But maybe we don't care about that either, as long as they're consistent. Hedgehog, hello. How are you doing today? Your hint did actually help. I don't know why. Like run away. I guess okay, that's why, because escape is also running away. Yeah. My dyslexized brain actually like got that back on track. So thank you for that. Okay. So now you can also stream this, true. And I don't know whether or not Insomnia supports streaming. We will find out. It does. Yeah, so notice this. I get a bunch of these objects back, and it's continuing to give them to me. and we can see all of the things that it's handing to me as it's coming in. So we can totally stream them and just sort of like continue appending them on, but I think stream false is perfectly fine. Now, the more data that we're coming in, like this actually has an element of a timing attack set for it, because so timing attacks in traditional hashing algorithms, if you were to set like the certain, like the closer it is or something else, it might like take less time or more time, and you can use a hashing attack, a timing attack, to sort of like try to figure out if maybe like your username was correct, and then now you have the username, now you can like start doing other attacks. We could, like, if I just hand it in to do the hash, regardless if it's the correct username or not, then that would I guess that wouldn't be a good timing attack anymore. That would be fine then. So yeah, we can be fine. Okay, so we have that. What other API stuff can we do here? So let's see. What does generate do? So generate a response for a given prompt with a given model. But we can also say stream false. Advanced parameters. The format to return a response in. Currently, the only accepted value is JSON, so obviously we can't change that at all. Options. Additional model parameters listed in the documentation for the model file, such as temperature. Okay. System message to override what is defined in a model file. So this is one of those things where, because the system message is in the model itself and the model sits on the server side, it's protected. As in, whatever front end that is hitting our back end to say, I would like to hash this, you could like somehow figure out a way to override if we're going to the API or to going to the AI, but it won't. You need to know what the system prompt is in order to generate exactly the same output. Otherwise, you won't get the same one. It'll be different. So even if I have like an extra dot here or a space or a capitalization, that could change things. Let's see, template prompt. Okay, so I can override that. Context parameter. Okay. So I could use to. Oh, the context parameter returned from previous request to generate. This can be used to keep a short conversational memory. I don't need that right now, but that's good to know for other things. Raw. If true, no formatting will be applied to the prompt. You may choose to use raw parameter if you are specifying a full templated prompt in your request to the API. No formatting will be applied to the prompt. I probably don't want to format anything if these are passwords, essentially. I probably would want to do something like no formatting at all. Send that out, and we should get the same response. Yeah, that looks about the same. Oh, wait. No, it's supposed to be raw. Was that Boolean? Yeah, raw false. Okay. I don't know how I went from raw to formatting. My brain is fun today. Okay. So in this case, everything is fine. Keep alive controls how long the model will stay loaded into memory following the request. Default 5 minutes. So one of the reasons why you might be able to get a really fast response is the model stays loaded in memory. And then we can just say like, hey, stay in memory for 15 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes, however long it wants. So if you get hammered by it, it doesn't have to like wait for reloading things. For the purposes of this, our exercise, I'm not really going to care that much. Also, 16 gigabytes being loaded to memory is actually doesn't take that long for this system here. And when 3.2 comes out, Llama 3.2, and we have a 1B that supposedly is as good as the current 8B, then that's going to be even faster. Okay, so JSON mode, that's the only JSON that we have. It's important to instruct the model to use JSON in a prompt. Otherwise, the model may generate large amounts of white space. Wait. So I have to tell it format JSON. Okay. Otherwise, it might cause problems. Oh, that's if I'm asking for code type things, is it? It's like, okay. Interesting. We don't want that format. Okay, the final response in the stream. So if we do a stream, it will include like total duration, load duration, prompt eval count. So do we get that here? So model, when I guess this completion was created at, the response. So, okay, so for caching purposes. Total duration, load duration, that's probably milliseconds. Okay, so interesting stuff. I don't know how much I care about that. The context is an encoding of the conversation used in response. So that's actually really nice. We're not going to need that now. To calculate how fast, okay, so you can find out how many tokens per second you're getting, which we're getting fast enough, so I don't really care. It's important to also instruct the model to respond in JSON. Yeah, that's what we found out. Otherwise, it just gave us a bunch of tabs inside of JSON, which was weird. Okay, so I don't have like a lava type thing, but multimodal is coming out. So we can start doing some fun things like throwing in images. And this would technically allow you to use like an image as a password too. It's like, what's my password? It's this song, this image, this file. Okay, then there's the chat completion. So generate the next message in a chat with a provided model. This is a streaming endpoint. Okay, so it's the same type of thing. I'm curious as to whether or not chat gives us something different. So if I say chat and I do nothing else because I haven't actually looked, Well, apparently that's not right. Oh, I need messages for this. Okay, so that's why generate is what we want. If I wanted like a back and forth type thing, then we would need this. Chantilly, thank you so much for the subscription. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And 56-month streak. That is so long. Hello, hello. How are you doing today? Okay, so I believe this is all the same. Oh, you can create a model here too. Interesting. I don't need to do that, but that's interesting. Now, this has like show model information. So what that means is imagine if we were trying to make this like an actual serious security project, we would want to hide this API and make it not available for anybody else. So this would have to be on a private network, fully firewalled, and you hit our server hits this, and nothing else. Like we don't expose this, so you can't see like the system prompt. You can't see the seed, because I believe that if I go to API show, let's duplicate this. What are you? You are generate completion. So is it API show? Gives me the Llama license. Can I not? Oh, is this all one word? Model file. Yep, I see the full model file, which probably includes my system prompt and my seed. So yeah, if this got exposed, it's like now easy. It's trivial to undo and reverse it because you just have the method that it created it. This would not great. This is like basically telling like exposing the secret key that you had to your hashing algorithm on your server. You would never want to do this. So we would need to make sure that you don't accidentally expose this API. That's obviously not great. I don't really know anything about embeddings. I think that's for RAG, but I haven't played with that through the API myself. I've used some tools that are using RAG with Ollama, and it seems to work just fine. Okay, so I think we're good to go there. Now, there is an OpenAI compatibility, which the base URL is this. So if I go to our generate completions, we duplicate you again. Now, I've been told that the OpenAI compatibility mode sometimes gives you completely different responses than if you used just the Ollama API, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I don't really understand how that works. But okay, so it's V1. Let's see. required but ignored. So I don't care about that. Oh, so like, yeah, if you're using the Open API's like client library here. Oh, I don't actually know what the endpoints are for Open API. Oh, no, here it is. Chat. See, there's chat completions. Do they have a generate? Just completions. It's like, oh, Veto model exposed Bitcoin wallet, but how does it know that? Yeah. Oh yeah, that sucks. Okay, so I think I can do. Is it chat completions or completions? Completions. Okay, so I just go to completions. And we have model and prompt. So model is that, prompt is you. Let's try that and see what happens. That is taking a long time. Now, it's been more than 5 minutes since we did the previous send, so it did unload the model from memory. Timeout was reached. So yeah, that it didn't like that. Now, if I just send you, let's see if it runs into the same problem. Same issue. It's timing out. So this is not what we want. Is it? Oh, okay. Content type application JSON. You should be sending, yeah, content type application JSON because this is JSON. Model and prompt. So model and prompt. That's fine. Yeah, I don't know why that wouldn't work. Now we have a way to make it work, so I'm not that worried about this. Now there's also chat completions where we have to send something like this. Is that a base 64 encoded URL image, like not an actual URL? It kind of makes me want to test this. But I'm going to do that over here because I don't know what that image is. Also, I don't have Lava installed. How long would it take me to install it? No, not Llama. Lava. Okay, 4.1 gigabytes. That's not too bad. It's going to take about a minute or so. So anyways, because we have a working sort of version of this, it should be fairly simple for us to now write. I guess like the next thing is we're going to do a Java application to hit this, to actually like send the message out. I guess like it takes the input of what the password is and then it hashes it through this AI, and then we're going to get the response and hand that back to FusionAuth. So that will probably be next week while we do that, because I'm running them to my time break, so I don't have time to necessarily set that up right now. John, hello. How are you doing today? Why are we hashing the passwords with AI? I mean, why not? It's going to be the next big thing, right? My plan is once we get this entire project finished, if it works the way we expect it to and actually does its thing in FusionAuth, I'm going to try to edit the video a little bit more edity than I normally do. Maybe like throw something in there about, like maybe make it sound like more for like a VC type thing. It's like, hey, this is the next biggest thing. You want to get on it now, invest now. And we'll see if it really is just people saying like, oh, ha ha, lol, this is great. Oh, and how many people actually fall for it? And it's like, no, this is going to be the actual best thing. Plus, I count success as the number of security researchers that get angry / cry. Yeah, for shits and giggles, of course. Like, I would not recommend this in reality. I have not talked to, I have talked to one person who knows security a lot, and he was very concerned until I told him it was just for shits and giggles. Then he was perfectly fine with it. Okay, so you're downloaded. Over here, I'm going to send invalid character / quote in string escape code. Okay, this was... Oh, I see. Because it's what's... Huh. Why can't I just do that? So what's in this image? Let's try this again. Okay, it is attempting to load. Text completion. Finished reading load. Created. Wait. It didn't do anything. Oh, it's probably a streaming response. I bet that's what it is. And then can I tell it streaming false? No. Okay, so this is what I got. So, unfortunately, the example that they gave us here didn't actually tell us, like give us anything. So I'm not exactly sure this is what I want, but if I went to model hasher messages, okay, so role user, I mean, what if I just did this? Content, type text, and I just said password, and then we don't have this image URL thing. No. Don't look that up. Okay, so I don't have you. Okay, so we just have a user that sent text password, max tokens 300. Yeah, so it sent it in here, but I'm not sure how to get the response out. Because you're not telling me how to get that. Is it actually, well, no, because we saw a streaming response before and that just worked. So it is curl. So V1 chat completions, that's what I'm doing, right? Oh, V1 chat completions. I mean, it's either thinking or just going to time out. Why stop there? Make the user submit a picture of their password written on a post-it note stuck to their display. If it doesn't meet the criteria, they must try again. Then use the image to read the password and hash it. You know what's really sad is that's all possible. Like, we could totally do that. And somebody will. John, you got here because you saw hash in the title, doing your own little auth system in Golang. Do you have any idea if bcrypt default hashing is secure enough, or should you add a custom salt to it? Always add a salt to a hashing system. You can check to see if the library already adds a salt for you. If it already adds a salt for you, there's no extra salt that you need, but a salt is definitely needed. Otherwise, it is not secure at all. Okay. So this is very interesting. So the content here is different. Finished reason length, but if we go back to this other chat completion, this is what we got out of it. Consistently, we got this one out of it. So yeah, that security person is correct. The data science person told me that the OpenAI compatible API for Ollama causes different, less good results than the native API for Ollama, which is weird, right? Mia too. Hello. How are you doing today? Oh, and I actually already responded to you. But I didn't say hi. Pretty sure bcrypt does it automatically. It should do that automatically, but it is possible to get a, like, I don't know about what bcrypt's library is in Golang. So it's usually good to just sort of look at the documentation and just double check. It already salts, but it was wondering if like packages like salting, like bcrypt salt, is easy to crack or not. It's not the salt that cracks it. It's more like the salt is going to make it more, because like the salt ends up being part of the hash in the end. So let's take a look at salting. Salting, bcrypt, hash passwords. There's a standard output for salted passwords, and here, let's go to Wikipedia. Do you have an output? Okay, so yeah, the final output of the bcrypt function is this. And notice that the salt is actually part of this output. So if we take a look at this, you have the cost. So this is, I think that it's bcrypt, but I can't remember off the top of my head what the first one is. This one's the rounds. So 12 rounds in this specific case, but you can go up to, I don't know, if you want to wreck your computer, do like 22. Then $, and then you get the salt. So notice that the salt is in the hash itself. So if somebody steals the hash, they have the salt, and that's okay. It's okay because the problem isn't having the salt. The issue is that it's going to still take a long time to test every single possible password against the hash. So that's the idea here, is that it's just a delaying attack, a delaying action. If the hackers get the hash, you want them to take days, weeks, months to a rainbow table attack that password, that hash. I don't know. My words are getting mixed up here, which is showing that I'm getting tired. But does that make sense? So like, as long as your salt, and this is going to be random for every single user that gets it. Like Bcrypt should set a new salt for each password that it does. You don't want it really to be the same salt for every single password, but because it's in the hash, it's okay. And then you have that hash itself, which is this. Does this help? Yeah, salt prevents rainbow tables from being helpful to hackers unless your cost is really low. So for example, the recommended cost now is 12, and it used to be 10, and before that it used to be 8. But as computers get more and more powerful, the recommended cost continues going up, which really is just going to say how long it takes to convert a input string into the full hash with the salt. Essentially, a hacker would have to create a rainbow table for each individual user, which becomes impractical. I don't think it's exactly that. Most hackers already have a rainbow table, and a rainbow table, all that really is just a list of commonly used passwords that they believe might be what you have. And so then they just go across the rainbow to test everything to see, hey, are you using a password that we've heard of and seen before? And if you're using something like 1Password or LastPass or any password generation tools, that doesn't actually mean that you're safe, because if you have like maybe a 16-character password, there is a chance that that 16-character string has been created before just by somebody banging something out. They've seen it before, and it gets thrown into the rainbow table, which has billions of different strings in it. Now, a lot of times it might just be simple words like password, but that's going to probably be higher on the rainbow table. But eventually down below, it just starts becoming random characters. And a hacker will run across it, and if they run across a new password, they'll just throw it into their rainbow table. And people can go download rainbow tables right now. I think there's several that you can get from GitHub, which security researchers use to sort of test out and see how things are working. Oh, it's a pre-computed list of hashes. Oh, okay. I always thought the rainbow table was just a list of potential passwords. Oh, okay. That gets it. If the salt changes, they have to recompute the table for each user, which isn't practical. And yes, and I believe that the salt ends up, you want this to be unique for each user to make it extremely impractical. So don't like override the default way that Bcrypt does it for you. Okay. Let's see. Let's go back to this. All right. So what have we learned here? We have learned that we can hash a input string, which would be the equivalent of a password, using Ollama. We have a custom system prompt, and we're using a customized seed here that allows us to then run a command into Ollama. So we can just do Ollama run, tell it any input string, and it will then respond with the hash. I'm using air quotes there because otherwise I mean, is it really the definition of a hash? Because like if somebody gets their hands on this, can they figure out a way to reverse it and get this? I don't know. Maybe. Do you have no idea how much of a help you were right now? You're struggling with this and Jot tokens and a whole security thing last night. Yeah, security is like it's one of those things where like it takes a while to learn sort of like the basics of it, but once you have the basics, you're good to go and everything is good. And Jots are fun. Jots are fun. Although just be careful you don't store too much stuff in it. Like user IDs are fine. Like don't store the password in it. Don't store the hash in it. Don't store like proprietary PII, personal identifiable information in it. It's that's all. Like just treat Jots as something that are supposed to be, you can identify the user with it and that's it. Pretty much nothing else. Okay, so we're running up at 10:47. I have something I have to do at 11 o'clock, so I can't continue streaming. But stage 2 for this project, now that we have this model file, stage 2 is going to be a Java app, or is it a Java app? A Java program that we're going to throw the jar into a special folder inside of what is it called? FusionAuth. So that's gonna be next week because I don't have time for streams tomorrow or this weekend. So I don't know exactly when that's gonna be. It's probably gonna be, it might be Monday, it might be Tuesday or so. I'll come up with my schedule usually on the weekend. That's when I know what's gonna happen on a week, and then I'll post that usually to Discord, and then you'll see some. If you're on YouTube, you can see like the coming soon streams like show up too. Be sure to store social security numbers and Jots. Just kidding, please don't. And don't put them in the HTML like some unmentioned school system did either. Yeah. Fun fact, older schools just use social security numbers as your student ID. And so it was not only that you like printed that out and it was just as the key in their database, probably unencrypted. It was also a what is it called? Printed on your student ID card. Not great. They did stop that eventually, but it goes to show that in the United States in history, social ID number was not originally considered a PII. It was not considered something. I guess it was PII. It was not considered initially something that needed to be secured. Like they didn't really like nobody really thought that it could be used to cause problems. And of course, we all know that that's not true at all. Am I going to continue streaming later this afternoon? I don't think so. I have some other stuff that I need to do this afternoon, so I won't be on then. But I'll be on Discord in case any of you want to chat. Anyways, that's all I've got for today. Your Jot has user ID, expiration, and issued at. That's perfect. Excellent. That's great. It was never meant to be a national identity, and now it's the de facto identity. Yeah, exactly. Also, hello, Skimmus. Okay, everybody. I am going to go ahead and jump off. I'll be back next week. We're going to do some Java stuff next week to work on this project, and it should be a lot of fun. Thank you, John, for that. And then good luck, John, with the with your security stuff. And if any of you want to join our Discord, we have a link that's the wrong keyboard, and we have a link here, which should, let's see, I have a link, I think, in YouTube somewhere that you can also go find that. So anyways, have a great rest of your day, everybody. Have a great weekend, and I will see you all next time. Bye.